Hey everyone, Moxie here. Welcome back. Before we get into today's video, I just wanted to give a quick little rundown. You saw the title. I asked ChatGPT to make me a meal plan for the day. I did this 3 times and I picked the 3 meals that I thought looked the best, all from the same meal plan. And that's how I ate on this day. I was going to follow these recipes to a T, but or the meals. I was gonna follow these meals to a T. They didn't give me the recipes, just the meals. But I decided not to. I made a couple of artistic changes, and I am very glad I did. I'll get into what those were when we get to that part of the video. Now, I know that this is like kind of like a hot topic right now, right? To have like ChatGPT rate your meals or whatever. And this was cool. This was a lot of fun, and I do think I'm going to do this again in the future, just because it was fun having like different kind of meal ideas and stuff. But like I mentioned, I took a couple of liberties with my meals and changed them up a bit. And if you are considering doing something similar to this, I would recommend just using a little bit of critical thinking. I know it sounds weird to say that, but I've seen stories of people who followed a ChatGPT meal to a T, and they made themselves sick. Basically, like they undercooked the meat, they didn't prepare something properly because the AI didn't tell them to. And yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there as something that has happened to people. And maybe just, if you're going to do this for yourself, make sure you are looking out for yourself and taking care of yourself when you do this. So with that, let's get into the video. All right, and up first for our breakfast, we have oatmeal. So we've got our old-fashioned oats, we've got black chia seeds, silk soy milk, and some pure vanilla extract. I have never used chia seeds in anything before, and I've never used vanilla extract in my oatmeal. So those were a couple of like new changes, something new for me for oatmeal for this meal. It was really interesting. The chia seeds, they added a lot of nutrition. I know that they have a lot of nutritional value, so I wasn't opposed to buying them and trying them out for this meal. They added a lot of nutrition and calories to the meal, but they didn't really change the flavor. So I do think I'm going to use them again in the future for, I don't know, this or that meal, just because of the benefits that they provide and the fact that they don't change the flavor a whole lot. I added just a splash of vanilla extract, like what the recipe called for, or what ChatGPT suggested, and it didn't really make a huge difference. So I don't think I'm going to be using vanilla again in my oatmeal, just because it is very expensive, especially since we buy the pure vanilla extract. I know you can buy actual vanilla sticks, but whatever. I'm sure those are more expensive. But I'm not a baker. Whatever. I like having the pure extract versus the imitation, though. Yeah, I didn't really notice a difference, and I don't want to use something so expensive if I'm not really going to notice the flavor come out. So that's something I would do different in the future. And then also, ChatGPT also suggested putting a little bit of maple syrup, some chopped fruit, and nuts on top. So I did do that, and I put a little bit of maple syrup as it suggested, or pancake syrup, I guess is what I have. I don't have the real stuff because I'm cheap. And also, if I were using actual maple syrup, I would use it on like actual pancakes and not oatmeal. But anyway, that's not the point. I only put a little bit of maple syrup on, and honestly, like overall, even with the strawberries and the almonds, this oatmeal was a little plain tasting. So I think if I were to do a similar recipe in the future, I would add a scoop of brown sugar. That's usually what I do anyway when I make oatmeal like this, where I just throw in the oats and the milk into a bowl and add my own flavors. Generally do a scoop of brown sugar and a little bit of peanut butter. So I think I'm going to stick with that in the future. So thanks ChatGPT for suggesting, I guess, oatmeal for my breakfast. Always a solid choice, just not my favorite added ingredients for this recipe. Oh, and by the way, real quick, ChatGPT actually suggested I make this as overnight oats, but I forgot to do it the night before I was supposed to like film this video and stuff. So this is why I did just regular old oatmeal. So yeah, in the recipe copied below, you'll see that it says overnight oats. I did regular oatmeal. That's kind of my preference anyway. I've never really been put on to the idea of cold oatmeal. So I may try overnight oats at some point in the future, but making regular oatmeal takes just as much time and it's nice and warm, which is my preference. So yeah, that's why you'll see that discrepancy. But yeah, breakfast down. And then for lunch, we are having wraps. It is a chickpea wrap. So ChatGPT wants me to use crushed cooked chickpeas. I just use canned chickpeas, whatever. And a bunch of veggies. It suggested cucumbers, tomatoes, and onions. So that's what I used. And then it also mentioned using fresh herbs. So we did pick up some fresh parsley, and I've actually never used fresh herbs in recipes before. I usually just buy the dried stuff because anything fresh that comes into our house has a 50-50 chance of making it into the garbage can without ever being used. So we usually just keep the dried stuff on hand because I don't have to worry about it expiring, but I did want to try something new and different, right? This is a whole little experimental video for me. So we did buy the fresh parsley. I did forget to add it until the very end, but it does get added, and it was really aromatic whenever I chopped it. It smelled really good, and I do think it added really nice flavor being fresh versus the dried stuff. I don't think that's going to motivate me to keep the fresh stuff on hand anymore or more frequently, just because of my earlier note about that. But yes, this was very enjoyable in this meal. So yeah, we are just going to prep the rest of these veggies and the rest of the chickpeas. My partner was helping me out. We did both have this meal, so I am using a little bit more than what the recipe actually suggested, just because I was making it for 2 people instead of just 1. So yeah, let's prep the veggies, and then I will show you guys what I decided to do different that ChatGPT did not tell me to do. But before that, just a quick shot of the finished salad, chickpea wrap salad. Yeah, this is what the finished product looks like. That is going to be going on the wrap. Okay, and now moving on to the thing that ChatGPT did not tell me to do. I made some tzatziki sauce to go with this. I just have the tzatziki blend here at our house, and we usually have Greek yogurt on hand, so it's really quick for us to put together. I know that sounds like super fancy and super bougie, but I love tzatziki, so I always have like the herb mix on hand, and I know that you can probably easily make it at home, like with your own mix or whatever. I like having the pre-blended stuff. So yeah, we made our own tzatziki just because ChatGPT only suggested the chickpea salad, some fresh greens, and to roll the wrap. And I was like, that seems like it's going to be a little dry and not necessarily lacking in flavor, right? Just because the salad mix does have all of the veggies and the chickpeas, and then of course salt, pepper, and lemon juice. Yes, I used lemon juice from a bottle. Whatever, my grocery store doesn't usually have fresh citrus, and when it does, it's not usually reasonably priced, so I just buy the bottled stuff, and it's pretty much the same thing. So yeah, the salad itself had plenty of flavor, but you can never go wrong with tzatziki, and with ChatGPT kind of making it seem like this was sort of a Mediterranean style salad. I thought tzatziki sounded like something good to go with it. So let's get these wraps put together. We'll put the sauce on, and then the salad mix, and then some of the fresh greens, and we will have our completed lunch. Of course, you got to cut it open for the aesthetic shot. I normally wouldn't have cut open these wraps, but I wanted to show off the innards of this wrap. And look at that. That is freaking beautiful. These wraps were actually really tasty, and this meal is something that my partner and I are going to make again. It came together very quickly, probably 10 or 12 minutes total time to chop all the veggies and get the chickpeas mashed and get everything put together. It really, yeah, like 10, 12 minutes, and our lunch was done. And as we were eating it, my partner said, it tastes like I'm eating a garden. And it really was that delicious and that fresh. And yeah, this was a very good meal, and I'm already looking forward to making it again. So yeah, good on you for this introduction meal, I guess, ChatGPT, because I did have to add some sauce, but then it was perfect after that. So good on you for that. And then I did not actually have this snack, but ChatGPT suggested having a sliced apple with some kind of nut butter as an afternoon snack. I wasn't hungry. I just didn't really need a snack, so I didn't have it, but I wanted to put this in here that was part of like the meal plan that ChatGPT had put together for me. So yeah, apples with nut butter if you're feeling like you need a snack. And then dinner, ChatGPT suggested a stir fry. So it said a blend of your favorite vegetables. So what we ended up adding was onions, peppers, carrots, which were all fresh, and then I threw in some frozen corn. And ChatGPT did not give any kind of protein for this meal, so we ended up pressing and cubing some tofu to go with our stir fry, so we have some semblance of a protein in this meal. The tofu was a great choice. I mean, you can't go wrong with fried veggies, some kind of protein, and like a tamari soy sauce or any kind of sauce, right? Over a grain, you really can't go wrong there. So this meal, I was very happy with this suggestion. And ChatGPT suggested we use quinoa for this meal. Typically, my partner and I would use rice for this. We have a really nice rice cooker because that's just our thing. We love rice. We eat a lot of rice. And it's wonderful having a rice cooker when you eat as much rice as us. But we decided to do something a little different. We decided to buy the quinoa. I had never cooked with quinoa before. I'd only had it a couple of times at restaurants, and it was always like, okay. But yeah, the quinoa was definitely my biggest regret of like this whole day of eating, even with the somewhat bland oatmeal that I had in the morning, because it didn't have enough sweetness to it. Yeah, even with that, the quinoa was my biggest regret. It was a pain in the butt to cook with. It was a pain in the butt to mess with, like just getting it cooked, and then it didn't really taste that great. I just much prefer white rice. I can eat a bowl of plain white rice and be very happy. So that's just my preference. So we are probably going to do this kind of meal again. I mean, this is a pretty standard basic stir fry meal. My partner and I have made these kinds of meals plenty of times in the past, so it's not surprising that we're going to make this kind of meal again, but we're definitely going to stick with rice and use our wonderful rice cooker next time. And we're just going to leave the quinoa for the people who are a little more hipstery than me. I'm definitely a hipster, but I guess I'm not a quinoa kid. So yeah, that is that's dinner. Everything cooked up real nice. Once we added the tamari, I missed the aesthetic of adding it. I forgot to hit film, but you can at least see what it looks like once the tamari had been added. This was like a very nice looking meal. And like I said, it would have been absolutely perfect if I had just used my preference of white rice. I went a little too bold, a little too adventurous this time. If I just used my classic, my fallback, my fail-safe white rice, this would have been the absolute perfect meal. It wasn't bad with the quinoa, and if you've ever been curious about cooking with quinoa, it's really similar to cooking with rice. You add double the amount of water to the uncooked amount of quinoa, and just let it boil until the water is gone. It was pretty simple to cook. It was just a pain in the butt to cook with because the little kernels are so small. They pop a lot more than what rice does. I don't know. I didn't enjoy it. Yeah, definitely going with rice in the future. But yeah, this meal looks very nice, and it was pretty tasty, all things considered. Definitely recommend. Another kind of thumbs up from me, from ChatGPT for this, except for the exclusion of protein, which of course I added with the tofu. And plot twist, ChatGPT also suggested a dessert. My partner and I never eat dessert. We honestly very rarely snack or have dessert. It's usually just 2 to 3 meals a day for us, and that's it. But tried to follow ChatGPT's full meal suggestion. I had mentioned earlier that I did skip the snack. I wasn't hungry, but we decided to do the dessert just because I had never made something like this at home before and wanted to try it out. It is a yogurt and berry parfait. So, I mean, parfaits are pretty straightforward. I did try to make this look kind of aesthetic, but it was my first time making a parfait, and I could have made it look a little prettier, but whatever. It was good. It tasted good, and that's the important thing. So I just followed ChatGPT's instructions on this one, and I think it's the pretty standard suggestion or instructions on making a parfait. You just layer your yogurt or whatever kind of creamy base. I don't know if you use anything other than yogurt for parfaits, but that's the only kind of parfait I've ever had. But whatever, yogurt or whatever alternative. And fruit. And sometimes granola. We did not have granola. So we just used strawberries, which I also had for breakfast. That was the fresh fruit that we had. We also have some other fresh fruits, but they just don't work as well with parfaits, in my opinion. So yeah, I just layered the yogurt with the fruit, and I tried to make it look pretty. My partner chopped the strawberries, and they looked really nice, little chopped pieces. I think I probably, for the first 2 layers of fruit, probably should have added a little more fruit, but I kind of made up for it at the end. So as I was eating this parfait, it wasn't overwhelmingly fruity or yogurty. It was a pretty good balance, and I honestly thought that like this whole thing was going to be like way too much for me, but it actually ended up being like a pretty good size for a dessert, especially because of what it was. It was Greek yogurt with fruit and some nuts, so it was very not like a light meal, like refreshing like a salad, but it also wasn't like greasy and heavy like a lot of food can be in America if you're not too careful. So yeah, it had a very fresh taste, and it was really enjoyable. And I think I'm gonna make parfaits at home a little more going forward. Which kind of surprised me. I thought I was just going to do this as like a fun little one-time thing for the sake of the video, for the sake of YouTube, whatever. But no, I actually did enjoy it, and I do think I'm going to make parfaits again in the future, especially because they're just kind of fun to make too, especially in the jar that I'm putting it in, my little star jar. It's got a little row of stars at the top. It's my favorite jar. I hope that I'm not the only adult with a favorite jar, but yes, favorite jar. And it was very fun to eat this and very enjoyable because it was out of my favorite jar, my star jar, and it was tasty. Yeah, so since we didn't have any granola, which I probably do need to pick up to make a more appropriate or true parfait in the future, but I didn't have that, so whatever. We just added some almonds on top, and the almonds were just right. Yeah, they were a good little crunch, good bit of flavor. So that was our dessert. That was our day of eating. A list of ChatGPT suggested meals. I hope you guys found the video interesting. I hope that maybe you got some ideas for your own meals. Maybe you'll want to try asking ChatGPT to make your own meal plan for a day. Like I said, use your own discretion to make sure you are safely consuming whatever it is that the AI suggests for you. But yeah, this was a fun video to make. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and yeah, that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one, and take care of yourself.